13 minutes after 7 now. President Cyril Ramaphosa says government plans to invest 1 trillion rand over the next 3 years into infrastructure projects, including roads, dams, schools, hospitals and clinics, as part of efforts to stimulate economic growth and create jobs. The announcement came during the Presidency Budget Vote debate in Parliament, where the President described infrastructure development as a key driver of economic recovery and service delivery. At the same time, South Africans are facing renewed pressure at the pumps, with fuel price adjustments for June coming into effect amid rising global oil prices and ongoing geopolitical tensions. Government has extended temporary fuel levy relief measures, while Labour Federation COSATU is calling for further intervention to cushion households, commuters and businesses from the rising cost of living. Joining us on the programme this morning is Matthew Parks, Parliamentary Coordinator for the Congress of South African Trade Unions. No stranger to the show. Matthew, good morning and welcome back to The Breakfast Rush.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
COSATU has welcomed infrastructure investment in the past, but from your perspective, how significant is this 1 trillion rand commitment announced by President Ramaphosa?
It's quite significant. It's over 3 years. It's a massive injection of stimulus into the economy. It will create jobs not only in the construction, but also in reviving key state-owned enterprises like Eskom, Transit, Metro Rail, and so on. It will also help make it easier for businesses to do business. And that's going to help attract investment because a huge chunk of the infrastructure is around roads. If you have roads which are free of potholes, that makes it easier for farmers to sell their products, makes it easier for factories to get the goods to the destinations on time. A huge amount of money is allocated to water, which is also key to growing the economy. A significant amounts are allocated to electricity, again, the lifeline of the economy. There's significant injections into modernizing our freight rail and our ports, which is really essential. It's a life and death issue for exporting industries, from mining to manufacturing to agriculture. And of course, for people who live in the cities, whether it's in Durban or Cape Town or Gauteng, there's a significant allocation to Metro Rail, to fixing the signaling. And that's critical because, the Metro Rail offers a cheaper and a faster ways of getting to work for people who live in the cities, about 10 million commuters, mostly workers. But if workers can get to work on time quickly and cheaper, it boosts workplace productivity. People arrive at work on time and so on. That benefits those businesses. But also, if workers are getting to work cheaper, it means they've got more cash to spend in the local economy, buying clothes or shoes or food to take care of their families as well. So there's a multiple beneficial aspect. I think our only concern really is around making sure these institutions spend the money, spend it on time, and spend it correctly, and don't waste money to corruption, etc.
COSATU has consistently raised concerns around unemployment. Which sectors do you believe could benefit more or most from this infrastructure drive in terms of job creation?
Construction will be the major beneficiary, and that's why there's a need for government to make sure that issues of construction mafia and corruption are dealt with. Construction in the last quarter saw about 100,000 job losses. So it's also, why we've been pushing that, make sure government spends the money timelessly. But really, construction will benefit especially well. But also, other sectors too, the export industries, the manufacturing sectors, the mining, the agricultural sectors will in particular benefit. But just your average factory, average small business, all depend upon an efficient and modern infrastructure. And so when government invests in roads and water and electricity and rail and so on, it benefits all of these companies. When government neglects them, equally makes it very difficult for these companies to survive.
Matthew, turning to fuel prices now, South Africans are once again dealing with increases at the pumps despite temporary relief measures. How serious is the impact of fuel hikes on ordinary workers and poor households?
It's devastating. We've seen basically the fuel prices doubling in the last 2 months. 2 months. That's an unbelievable blow. We have seen this month at least diesel for the first time going down since around March. Still extremely high, but at least some little bit of relief. But we've seen petrol going up another 1 Rand 50 roughly. That's largely because government has begun to reduce the relief it has provided by half this month. We are fearful that rushing to end the relief next month is too soon, given that fuel prices remain still quite high, and given how fragile the economy is, how slow economic growth is, how high levels of poverty and the cost of living are. So we really do hope government will reconsider ending the relief and actually consider extending it for a little bit longer to wait for the war to end, for fuel prices to resort to normal levels.
Now, COSATU has called for continued fuel levy relief. What exactly are you proposing government should do?
Just simply extend the fuel levy that relief is provided. We'd hoped it hadn't reduced it by half this month, but I think however imperfect the relief is, it has provided some relief. I think it's been found to have actually helped to cushion the increase of inflation. And, society is hung on, but we need to give a bit of relief to society. So I think from our side, we appreciate it does come with a hefty price tag to government. So far, this 3 months has been about 18 billion Rand, but we think it's money well spent because you help people to survive. That money that they would have saved will be spent on buying essential goods like food and electricity, and just enabling themselves to pay for transport, to get to work, to get to school, and so on. So I think for us, it makes sense to extend it a little bit longer, and hopefully this war in the Middle East will come to an end soon.
To round off the conversation, there are concerns that rising costs could wipe out the benefits of wage increases workers may receive. Is COSATU seeing growing frustration among workers?
Extremely frustrated, deep levels of frustration. Most workers are drowning in debt. Any look at the national debt reports shows you workers are borrowing money to buy food, electricity, to pay for transport. Workers are borrowing money to pay for existing debt. Most workers are supporting about 7 relatives who themselves are not working or can't find work. And so any squeezing on their salaries puts them under extreme pressure. That's why we were quite disappointed by the increase in the repo rate, because that means workers' home loans are becoming more expensive. And at the same time, when workers see, fuel prices basically doubling, that means when they have to fill their own cars, it's much more expensive. An extra 1,000 Rand, 1,500 Rand, 2,000 Rand out of their pocket for exactly the same activities they did the month before. Workers who take taxis or buses have seen huge rise in fares, and we're still likely to see some rises in inflation for food and so forth. So it has become very painful. And of course, you have electricity tariffs of 9% and so on. So really, workers are feeling a huge pinch. And this is why we think we need to extend the relief. We should also be saying how to accelerate economic growth, how to create jobs, because workers are going to remain under pressure unless we deal with unemployment. There's only so far workers' salaries can go, and we need to be finding ways to actually help more people find work.
Indeed. Matthew, thank you for your time this morning and insight on this subject, and we wish you a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you, you too.
That was Matthew Parks, Parliamentary Coordinator for Congress of South African Trade Unions, speaking about what was going on yesterday in Parliament, where President Cyril Ramaphosa says government plans to invest 1 trillion Rand over the next 3 years into infrastructure projects, including roads, dams, schools, hospitals and clinics. And all of this is part of an efforts to stimulate economic growth and create jobs. And of course, talking about how we're feeling it. And I say we, because I'm feeling it too.